Alright, let's do this. What's going on, guys? Gingerbreadman77 coming at you 4K through the power of the Xbox One. And today I'm bringing my updated Magicka Necromancer PvP build. Now I know that it's, pretty far into the patch as far as Markarth goes, but I got requests for, just what I'm running, like what have I've been wearing in some of the videos that I've been doing. And it's nothing special, it is meta, but I do change a couple of abilities, and I usually go through 2 different sets as well. So just to make it quick and sweet, I'm gonna hop right into it for you. The first setup that I'm using, before I start, the sets are meta. However, the skills are to the user's preference. It doesn't really matter what skills you use per se, because in some of my videos I have, abilities pretty much everywhere on my bar setup, but the sets are pretty much what matter, and that's the whole reason why I'm making this video. There are a lot of people that run the same setup. This is something that I have actually been doing before a lot of the popular YouTubers started putting these builds out. And for one particular reason, and to cover myself from, well, pretending that I was using this first, I've always used Succession. So the first setup is definitely Elemental Succession. 5 body pieces, and the 2 piece gives you max Magicka, spell damage, max Magicka, and the 5 piece, whenever you deal Flame, Shock, or Frost damage, you gain 492 spell damage for that element for 4 seconds. Anybody that's seen my past Necro build videos, I generally like this set because Necromancer has all 3 elements built into its toolkit. And with that being said, I'll just equip all of it. With that being said, if you're running this setup, these staves make the most sense. So on our front bar, we're running the Black Rose Lightning Staff, which gives you Flame, Shock, and Frost damage over 8 seconds. So all 3 of these generally could proc the Elemental Succession 5-piece bonus, pardon me. And you're getting a spell damage buff on top of it. So, I mean, this is already hitting hard enough because it's, in my opinion, kind of a broken staff. But if you combine that with Ele Succession and then some of your other stuff, it's pretty disgusting. And then you can even pretty much get away with Impulse as a spammable if you really wanted to. I'll get into skills later, but because of that alone, it's super strong. Back bar, obviously, the Vatron's Frost Staff, but neither of these are perfected. I didn't care to get the extra penetration, even though that would definitely help. But when you have the Frost Staff equipped, it's more tankiness. It's essentially the same as Sword and Board except for Magicka users. And if you don't want to use magic for blocking, you just change the passive on your destructive tree skill line. But yeah, when you cast Weakness of Elements, basically the same thing, except it's one of the 3 elements. So you get the Flame, Shock, or Frost damage every second, but that increases, up to 20%. And having both of these combined with Ele Succession it's super strong. Like, you're already doing elemental damage from your other skills, and then just having these staves coincide. They synergize off each other well. How about that? And then, basically everything you're doing is Ele damage and not really magic damage. Just going through these skills for real quick. This is flame damage. This is shock damage initially, and then it procs your front bar of all 3 elements. This is frost damage. This is all frost damage. And then this will proc your other your back bar damage as well. So you're having all those dots ticking, and it's all elemental, and every 4 seconds you are proccing this, so you're guaranteed pretty much 100% uptime. I mean, I use this if I'm in small scale PvP group play, because you have to remember you are in light armor, so you are pretty much a glass cannon, and your jewelry is not really going to help with your defensive either, because I just went full damage spec on this build. So it's Ancient Grace, that's the jewelry I'm using, all harmony, all spell damage. And then fully buffed up, we're at 35k max magic, 2k recovery, 2500 spell damage, and the resistances are pretty good on the front bar. Back bar, we're at 2400 or 24,000 and 19,000. So really, overall, it's not bad. And in light armor, you're still pretty tanky because you have the Spirit Mender, but I mean, this is just one particular setup that I use. It's generally the one that you see a lot in my X videos, but it's pretty decent for what it is. The second setup, if you're running solo on this build, you keep the stabs and the jewelry the same. Oh, we are using Balorg, of course. It's like pretty much best in slot for Necro. I do apologize, this video is all over the place. I'm not really that organized, but I just wanted to get this out here real quick while I had the minute. The second setup, if you're running solo, is New Moon Acolyte. Now, why New Moon? Two reasons. One, you can make it all in heavy, and two, it's one of the best offensive sets out there, in my opinion. I mean, to have the heavy armor on your side with basically all of the bonuses as being an offensive set, I guess. I mean, it could be used as defensive as well, but the penetration and spell damage is basically the main thing that we're focusing on with this. So the fact that we are in 5 heavy, it's a pretty big difference as far as like how our resistances go. Almost 30k spell resistance, 26k physical, and then we are a Breton, so that can go up over cap as well because of the Breton passives. And then our crit resistance is at 32, 36, which is really, really good. The mag recovery is not that important because we are using Ellie Drain, and we have our Spirit Mender up pretty much at all times. And as long as you're, heavy attacking every once in a while, and, being conservative with your skills and not spamming these over and over again, you should be okay. I generally don't run out of magic unless I'm having to spam the burst heal. So those are the sets. We are leaving the jewelry the same, but I go back and forth between New Moon Acolyte and Elemental Succession. I have to say, though, between the two, I prefer Succession just because the overall damage is so much higher. You're wearing light armor. You're getting a massive spell damage buff for basically all of your skills that you're using. And it's just... overall, it's probably my favorite set in the entire game. I just think it pairs so well with the Necromancer and its playstyle. Sharpen on the front bar. I use Lightning Staff because of AoEs. We are using Harmony, obviously, so to have that extra 8% AoE damage is nice. And then defending on the back bar just to be extra tanky. Jumping into the skills, like I said, this is where it's player preference. So currently I have Race Against Time, Stalking Blast Bones, Empowering Grasp, Storm Pulsar, Avid Boneyard, and Glacial Colossus. Storm Pulsar I currently use as my spammable. It's nice because if you have a bunch of people on you, you don't have to aim your cursor at anywhere. You just kind of hang out, stand in your AoE, make sure you're buffed up, and hang out. It's kind of a cheat way of doing it, but I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with how you want to play anymore. It's with how the game has been progressing. If you don't like using Pulsar as a spammable and you just want to like hit it and have the buff on them, you can change out Empowering Grasp and put in whatever spammable you want. Like Crushing Shock is appropriate. If you want to use the Flame Skull, that's appropriate too. I just think Crushing Shock has a better cast time. Like it's more instant to me. It's definitely a lot quicker than the Skull, but you will get more damage out of the Skull because of the Necro passives. Race Against Time, that's going to be our snare removal. It's nice to have it on the front bar too, so you don't have to constantly switch back to your back bar. Stalking Glassbones is our main burst ability. This thing hits super hard when you're fully buffed up. And then Avid Boneyard in combined with Stalking Glassbones and your ultimate, a lot of shit's going to die. Especially if they have Storm Pulsar and the Ellie Drain Dot on them. And it just hits super hard. Back bar. Obviously, Summoner's Armor, just to make Spirit Guardian a little less costly. At 4190, that's a lot. And I see a lot of people in a lot of Necro videos spamming this, and they don't realize that they're just wasting, 4K instead of, relying on the Necro passives along with Summoner's Armor to reduce the cost of this. So, next we have Resistant Flesh, probably one of the best burst heals in the game. That with it giving the spell and physical resistance equal to, half the amount that you're healed for. It does give you the reduced healing received by 8%, but if you look into your passives here, where is it? When you have a negative effect on you, your healing done is increased by 8%, so it doesn't really matter. Reducing your health received by... and health recovery by 8%. Like, I don't even know why this is here. Like, why haven't they fixed this? Like, if you read it, reducing your healing received and health recovery by 8%. But when you have a negative effect on you, your healing done is increased by 8%. So, I mean, if you're by yourself, this is good. If you're in a group, it still doesn't really matter, because even though you're not getting heals from outside players, you can still help yourself. I mean, I feel like this could be better, reworked better in a different way. I don't even know why there's a reduced healing on this skill in the first place. I think it's kind of dumb. But whatever, that's just my unbiased opinion. Spirit Guardian. I prefer Spirit Guardian, especially if I'm wearing light armor, just to have that extra 10%. It goes a long way. If you're in heavy armor and you feel comfortable enough with your kiting abilities and being able to outrun enemies, then by all means use the other morph, because you're going to get a lot more healing done. And you're in heavy armor too, so you're going to receive more healing. Elemental Drain, obviously, because of the back bar staff that we're using, and it gives you more sustain with the minor Magicka Steel. Mortal Coil. This could also be a flex spot, in my opinion. If you feel comfortable wearing the heavy armor and you feel comfortable with the amount of healing that you're receiving, please, by all means, swap this out for something else that's more useful to you. This is just how I play. If I had to suggest another ability, I would definitely put Hexproof on the back bar, only because you're going to reduce the cost of your healing and your summoning, and it's also going to act as a negative effect removal for yourself, because when you remove 4 effects, especially with all the dots that are running around, it helps out so much. And it's going to cost health, but if you have all heavy on along with the healing that you're doing, you're really not going to notice it. So it's kind of a free skill, in my opinion, unless you're spamming it. And then this is the last flex spot of the skill bar is Temporal Guard. It's the back bar ultimate. You can go back and forth between that or the Rendezvous Goliath. I like using both, but if I'm wearing light armor, definitely Temporal Guard. You could use Rendezvous Goliath in light armor as well, but it's, you're going to your back bar for a reason, so you might as well just already have the extra protection while you're there. But in a clutch situation, if you can hit this ability and just get full health and, stay alive with a lot of people on you. At least gives you enough time to get out of a bad situation and regroup yourself. But in light armor cases, I typically have Temporal Guard on. Front bar, Glacial Colossus is probably the best for the Elemental Succession and both the stabs doing all the LE damage, because this thing just hits extra harder. extra harder. And fully buffed up, we are looking at... I mean, that's obviously... If you had more ultimate, the spell damage would be higher. We hit about 4k spell damage. And then adding your continuous attack, we're definitely in the mid 4k spell damage range with this setup. And this is with the heavy armor as well. Light armor would be even higher. The glyphs, I think it's the last part about the inventory. Definitely the weapon increase on your lightning staff, and then the back bar you could usually get away with poisons because that seems to be the best, but right now I just have the absorb magicka enchantment. We are a Breton, if I didn't mention that. It helps with our resistances and the cost of skills if you're using New Moon. 64 in the magic. You can play with this as well, but this is how I see fit for it being the best. And then Atro is our Mundus, and Bewitched Sugar Skulls is our food. Champion points. Just going to go through this real quick. 56 into Warlord, 2 into Sprinter, 1 into Siphoner, 32 into Tenacity, 64 into Arcanist, 27 into Mooncath, 44 into Tumbling and Shadow Ward. I like to mention that you want to have at least 120 into this just to get the extra 2% movement speed for when running. Increases your movement speed and mounted speed by 2%, which is nice to have. 32 into Blessed. Healing done is super important, especially if you're solo on this build. 48 into Elfborn, 56 into Ellie Expert, and then 30 into Spell Erosion. Definitely want to have points well allocated in this tree. Arcane Wall is really good to have, especially for in-group play, and Foresight as well. When you drink a potion, your next ability is basically free. 81 into Master at Arms. Tactician is nice for certain play styles. Like if you are a vampire and you have that extra stam recovery and you're able to run until you're invisible, it's nice to use this because you can set people off balance and then burst them super hard from stealth, and it's hard to recover from it because they're already off balance and you're hitting them from stealth at the same time. That's in Necro per se. Stam Necro, different story. And then 23 into Thaumaturge because we are running the double dot staves and it goes well with the extra 10% damage. 66 into Ironclad, 46 into Resistance, 23 into Thick Skin, 49 into Hardy and Elemental Defender, and then 37 into Quick Recovery because 9% healing received from other players kind of offsets that one passive that I was talking about, so you get the extra 1% from healing. And you still have the 8% on top of it from your other passive. It kind of equals itself out, but I like to have it there because you're not totally relying on your self-heal, and that 9% from other players goes a long way as well. That's it from the champion tree. If there's anything... the pots that I'm using, I usually get away with the Alliance Spell Draught. Anything will pretty much work. Tri-stats are good. I use these pretty much on all my characters only because I can get them with AP and it doesn't really cost anything. Definitely have Stealth Detect because Snipe Blades are annoying lately. And then just having basically a little bit of everything in your toolkit will help in any PvP situation. Alright guys, that is my Magicka Necromancer PvP build. If you have any questions, if something that I forgot, please let me know in the comment section. I know this was a super quick video, but I just wanted to get at least what I'm running out there on the Magcro. The Mag Sork isn't forgotten. I put it up on the shelf for a little bit just because I played it basically my entire ESO career. So I have a feeling like next patch I'm going to focus on something else again. Probably Mag DK or something along that lines. I pretty much play magic classes. Who knows? I might do Stam. Alright guys, let me know what you think. The videos will come in shortly, when I have time. I typically play at night, so if you catch me streaming, it's usually late night or early morning. But with that being said, thanks for watching this, and I will see you guys in the next one.